Welcome lads and nets, welcome back to the King's Catalogue, where today we're talking about the newest installment of the Zelda franchise, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I was excited for this game for a very, very long time, as I was a huge Breath of the Wild fan, and this game did not disappoint. I just want to clarify this video is going to have a couple of spoilers, nothing major. I'm going to talk about nothing to do with the actual story, apart from the intro. If you still want to play the game purely for the story, don't watch this video. I'd say play the game and then watch this video and have like a think about how the game actually is, in your opinion, because I don't want to make people think about the game in a different way to what they actually think. But yeah, this is going to be mostly spoiler free, so I understand if you don't want to watch the video now, I click off maybe an odd spoiler, but all I want to talk about is the characters, the abilities, the map, and how the game actually is. Tears of the Kingdom is sort of a sequel to Breath of the Wild. It's, just a new installment in the Zelda franchise, but it really feels like the next episode of a certain TV show that feels so interlinked. And the story is as follows. After the events of Breath of the Wild, Zelda and Link are exploring the caves underneath Hyrule Castle. Whilst exploring, they find the corpse of a very, very old man. This man is Ganondorf, who has been prisoner for I think thousands and thousands of years by a rotten arm. Now, when you find Ganon, you accidentally awaken him. Then Ganon, being the big bad bully that he is, he just wipes you straight down. He does everything to you. You have no chance. He knocks you down. Zelda goes, you have to go find Zelda. That's the basic idea of the game. And yeah, your quest is to just defeat Ganon, find Zelda, and do everything you can to save Hyrule once again. And I want to talk about the characters in a nutshell real quick. I'll just keep it brief for you. Link, he's the main character of the game. He's terrific in this game. He's basically just a badass. He's just a Sigma character. He doesn't need to speak because he's too powerful. He doesn't need that talking time. He's just going to knock you out. And I think Link in this game is absolutely terrific. They really make him seem like a powerful character. Like in Breath of the Wild, they definitely made Link feel like a badass, but in this game, you actually feel like you're like a god. You're like a fighting god. And Zelda also feels like a really overpowered character in this game as well. She seems like just someone who's like godlike. And Zelda's also got, a bit more interesting dialogue in this game. In Breath of the Wild, she seems like someone you just rescue. You don't know much about her because you have to find out about her. In this one, it's established that you know Zelda. People talk about Zelda. People accept that she's alive. And also, Ganon in this game is actually fucking badass. He is the biggest Sigma in this game. I fucking love him in this. He's absolutely terrific. I think this is the best Ganon iteration we've ever seen. He just seems so Sigma in this. It's unbelievable. And everyone else, all the guys, I don't want to spoil anything, obviously, so the characters that help you fight Ganon, they're also pretty badass. And the Zonai in this game as well, absolutely terrific. I think they did a great job with all the old Zonai stuff. So in Tears of the Kingdom are a whole new set of abilities. In Breath of the Wild, you had the bombs, you had the Magna, you had the stasis. They've got rid of all of them, and they replaced them with a whole new set of abilities. In this game, we now have Ascend, the Ultra Hand, Recoil, Fuse, and Auto Build. They're the main abilities. There are a few other ones that you can get, but they're not really important. These are the main ones. Ascend means that if there's a flat object above you, you can fly right up and go through the top of it, which I don't really use that much in the game, but there are a lot of puzzles in the shrines that are really good with it. The Ultra Hand basically lets you pick stuff up and you can attach it to other stuff, so you can make boats, you can make cars, you can make bikes, you can make helicopters, you can make everything in this game. If you can think of it and it has the material for it, which it does, you can make it basically. The recoil is kind of like the stasis in Breath of the Wild, apart from rather than keeping it in place and you hit it, it just goes back to where it was going. So if it was rolling down a hill, you press stasis, it'll go straight back up the hill. And I really enjoy the recoil in this game. I think it's just such a good upgrade from the stasis. The fuse ability basically means that if you have a weapon or a shield, you can attach something to it. So let's say you've got your shield out and you find a wheel on the floor, you can attach the wheel to the shield and it'll make the defense higher. Or if you find a rock and you've got a sword, you can turn the sword into an axe and you can cut trees, or you can have the axe abilities that swords don't usually have. And this is probably one of my favourite new abilities. It just means there's so much variety in weapons you can have. Like, there's loads of stuff to make really, really unique weapons. And the final main ability is the auto build, which I didn't actually find for a long time. When I was playing Tears of the Kingdom, I did all the main quests before I actually found it, which really pissed me off because it's such a useful thing. And the auto build basically means that if you've built something in the past, you can rebuild it in any moment instantly. And it's such a great ability because it just means that it just saves a lot of time. You don't have to find the materials, you can just press it, build it. It does use a material called Zonite, but you get Zonite plenty. There's no way you're running out of Zonite. The next thing we'll talk about is the new map. The new map is absolutely brilliant. I think such an upgrade from Breath of the Wild. I'm not going to try and compare Breath of the Wild a lot to this, but it's very, very hard not to when the games are so similar. I'll talk a bit more about that later, but it's using the same base map as Breath of the Wild, except for they've changed it because it's been, I think it's been like, I played this game, I've not played it properly in like a few weeks for the main story, because I wanted to get a proper look at it, and I wanted to complete the game before reviewing it. So the map is basically the first map a few years later, so everything's changed. All the main areas are different. All the characters are different. There's different problems. There's also a sky element. All the towers are different. So the towers, rather than just being a tower, is basically a tube that shoots you in the air, and you can fly across the map really, really easily. So traveling across the map is so much easier in this game compared to Breath of the Wild. I managed to do all the towers I think within 20 hours of playing the game, which in Breath of the Wild, it took me a lot longer than that. And the final area I want to talk about is, little spoiler here, is the depths. The depths are probably the most insane part of this game. I was really not expecting the depths when all these trailers were coming out, because I saw nothing about the depths. It was basically just like, oh yeah, there's a whole section in this game. There's a whole new map underneath the map. It's incredible. There's boss fights down there. It's all dark. It's all creepy. You have to find light routes, which are like, they're dotted around like shrines, and it lights up the whole area, but they're really good to find. I really do like the depths. I do prefer to be on the mainland, but the depths are really, really cool. And the sky's, a bit underwhelming in this game, in my opinion. It's not enough to discredit the game whatsoever. There's still plenty to do in the skies, but I was kind of expecting to have a lot more shrines and stuff in the skies. There's only a couple. But when you start the game, there's a whole massive island in the sky, and I was expecting to have more of those kind of islands, but there's kind of just the one big one, and then loads of really little ones. But yeah, the depths definitely makes up for that. Now, with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, okay, I want to talk about how similar they are, because they are very, very, very similar. As I said before, it feels like a sequel. That's how similar these games are. So the map's very similar. The base map, it's basically just like a template for it. It's like they had a picture on the outlines, but they just coloured it in with this game. The new abilities, I think, are much better than the Breath of the Wild abilities. Bombs are the only thing I miss because they were just so reusable. When you're cutting trees down, you can just throw a bomb, blow it up, and it's easy. In this one, you just don't have the bombs to do that. But it's not really a fault of the game. I think it just changes how the game's played. Especially because in this game, you don't really need wood at all. And obviously, Breath of the Wild didn't have the depths, and it didn't have the skies. The towers are different. It's got a whole new set of shrines, so none of the shrines are the same. The shrines in this game are more catered towards the new abilities rather than the old ones. And even if you don't use the abilities in the shrines, it's still completely new. And yeah, it is the same base idea, but it's just the same base idea on roids. Breath of the Wild is like when bodybuilders try and do it all natural, and then they realise steroids make them 10 times bigger. They've just taken the steroids and become massive juice heads. This game is just a beefed up version of Breath of the Wild, and I definitely prefer this game to Breath of the Wild. I think Breath of the Wild is still a terrific game, but this game is just up. This game's up there. There's only a few more things I want to talk about. I want to show a little bit of appreciation to the graphics and design. How everything looks in this game, I think, is terrific. There are parts where the game dips in quality, and that's to be expected on the Nintendo Switch. The Nintendo Switch, as a console, is pretty fucking weak now. It's really, really pathetic compared to what the new consoles have. But all the designs the game makes, they look terrific. Like the Zonite stuff, all the outfits, the weapons, the actual map itself, it just looks terrific. And I kind of wish the console was a bit more powerful so it could really show its full potential. Like maybe if I had the OLED, it would look a lot better, but I don't have the OLED, so I won't really know. And the final thing I want to talk about is the gameplay, the final big area. The gameplay is absolutely incredible. It's so engaging. It's extremely fun. I've always thought this with Breath of the Wild especially, and of Tears of the Kingdom. The game keeps you wanting to play more. I played this game for 10 days straight and didn't even think about putting it down. After I finished the main story on stream, I still played it for about a week longer until I realised it's taken over my life. And with all that, with all the great gameplay, you get to use all the abilities, all the combat is incredible. I love the combat in Zelda. And after all that, it's still just calming. The game is completely calming. I could play this game sat back in my chair, eating some sweets, just chilling, just playing the game for 10 hours straight. And even if you're in an intense fight, you're fighting a Lionel or a boss, just anything, you can just still chill. There's no worry in the game. You can just relax when playing. It's absolutely fucking brilliant. So, to conclude, the game is absolutely incredible. This is definitely the best game I have ever played. Even though it's not my favourite game that I've ever played, this is definitely the best game I've ever played. If I were to change a few things, there would be such minor tweaks that, it wouldn't really affect the game at all. There's like a few things like armor pieces I'd make look a bit cooler, or that's really it though. There's such minor things, and I've seen a lot of the complaints people have with this game. They're not really complaints, they're kind of just minor digs. They just polish a little bit, but there's nothing really to polish. It's already got 10 coats of it. And as I said, if I were to change anything, it wouldn't change the game's overall feel. It would just probably be a few little tweaks. I wouldn't even change the story. I think the story in this game is absolutely brilliant as well. So with all that said, this is the first time I've ever done this on the show, the King's Catalogue. I'm going to give this game a 10 out of 10 on the King's Catalogue. This to me is a perfect game. You know, this game is definitely a breath of fresh air, as you know, most of the games this year have been a bit stinky doo-doo. As all these companies are really rushing to get these games out and they're not trying to put as much work into these games, then Nintendo just goes, fuck that. We're spending 7 years on making a sequel to, how long has it been? 6 years? I'm not sure. 6 years to make a sequel to a terrific game and made it even better somehow. They've made one of the best games Nintendo's ever released somehow better. I didn't know it was possible to make Breath of the Wild better, but they've done it. And if this doesn't get Game of the Year, I'll be very, very surprised, as this game is just chef kiss. Anyway, that's it from me today. It's been a while since I've done a King's Catalogue, so it's nice to come back. I'm still going to be trying to do these weekly, so expect more. They won't be as trending as this, even though this isn't trending, because I spent so long trying to complete the game to talk about it fully. Anyway, that's it from me. Remember to like and subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you in another video.